This is the representation of the kind of quality of speakers that we have here at West Hawaii Forum. And we put these monthly forums on to provide as much civic involvement and education on issues that are important to you, the community. We are one island. We are one community.
Aloha and good evening, everybody. My name is Jane Clement. I am the president of Community Forums. I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight. I want to especially thank our panel for also being here tonight. Community Forums is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization. We rely on our community partners to continue to provide these monthly forums for you folks. I would like to recognize our community partners, County of Hawaii, Boy Scout Troop 79, McDonald's of Hawaii, Kathy and Robert Leopoldino, who generously provide our refreshment at each of these forums, Mahalo Multimedia, Naleo TV. This forum tonight is being recorded and will be aired on Naleo Channel 53 at a later date, maybe a couple weeks from now. Shortly after that, the video will be posted onto our website, www.communityforums.org. You can find all the other videos from our past forums on our website as well. I want to acknowledge some of our board members who are here tonight. Mike Matsukawa, Pete Huffman, Candy Ellsworth at the back, Scott Ordway back here, and Isaiah Heyer manning our camera back there. I also want to acknowledge some of our elected officials who are here tonight. Representative Nicole Lowen is here. She's over there. Council members Drew Kanuha, Karen Eoff, Miley David at the back, and Tim Richards over there. Deputy Managing Director Barbara Kasau, and I know we have a few other county officials who are here tonight. So we have a lot to get to, and without further ado, I would like to introduce one of our organization's valued and most important partner, Ms. Sherry Bracken. Sherry has been with Lava 105 and Koa Country since 2004, and of course you guys all know this. She writes, hosts, and produces the thrice daily event update, Community Corner, and the weekly interview program, Island Issues. She's interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, elected officials, nonprofit groups. They've probably talked to all of you, if not most of you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce our moderator tonight, Ms. Sherry Bracken.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here tonight because talking about budget is so fun. Wait, it can be so fun, and it's going to be so fun because we're going to get some good education tonight. You know, I just want to mention one thing. Although Isaiah got acknowledged and Scott, they were with Naleo. Also back here is David Yap, and he's the other compadre from Naleo TV. The county budget is due each year, the preliminary budget March 1st or the first working day after that. And that was presented. And then, as is tradition, the budget is modified and it has to be presented at the beginning of May. And that's what our mayor and his team did. But of course, as you all know, starting on April 30th, we had an unusual event when the Kilauea crater and Pu'uo'o drained lava. And starting May 3rd, we had the beginning of what is going on now, which is the lava eruption in Leilani Estates, as well as the ash eruptions at the Kilauea Summit. And that is going to drastically affect our budget. So this is a really great opportunity for us to hear from the county budget team as to how they're going to handle things. Because just because of that, that doesn't mean all the other business in the county stops, because we all have needs that have to be met by county government. So part of the challenge is how these folks are going to help make that happen. The lava flow, of course, means that less in property taxes will be coming in because property taxes get diminished for properties or zeroed for properties that are covered by lava or not accessible. And we're going to have more expenses because you know what's going on, how much overtime is being spent, and how much money is going to have to be spent as recovery from this event occurs. So let me introduce our panel tonight, and they're going to be giving us some really interesting updates. Will Okabe in the middle is the county's managing director. That means he manages the day-to-day activities, and he's here tonight in the stead of Hawaii County Mayor Harry Kim. Will was most recently the liaison for East Hawaii for Governor David Ige, and before that was president of the Hawaii State Teachers Association, a very powerful union in the state, and he's been with the Department of Education before that for about 30 years. And Will is right in the middle there. Let's give Will a round of applause. I'd have to say one of the most important people here is the person who understands the budget best, and that is Deanna Sacco, who is the county finance director. And she's been on the finance side of county government since 1999. Before that, she did government and business audits for Deloitte and Touche in Honolulu, Maui, and Hilo. She has degrees in accounting, and I have to tell you that I have interviewed Deanna over the years several times. The thing that I like best about her is she can take complicated budget concepts and explain them in English. And for me, that's good because I don't get the complicated budget aspects. So thank you so much, Deanna, for being here with us. Roxy Walchin down at the left is the head of Parks and Recreation, and she got her degree from UH Hilo. She's been with Park and Rec for about 30 years. 30 years, and she recently was named head of the department, and we're very happy you're here because we will have Park and Rec questions. Thank you, Roxy. Bill Kucharski is the County Director of Environmental Management, and that means that he's responsible for garbage and wastewater, two absolutely fabulous things that we need to have taken care of, and things that are really not talked about much. We just expect them to be taken care of. Bill has a master's in chemical engineering and in civil engineering from the University of Michigan. He's a registered professional engineer, and I've been really appreciative of Bill's ability to explain to me things about garbage and wastewater that I think are super complicated, and he made it sound actually understandable. So thank you, Bill, for being here tonight. Maria Soleil Aranguez, did I do it right? Yes. Close enough? Soleil is her nickname. She is the head of County Mass Transit buses and such, and she has 18 years of experience in various fields of transportation, most notably with California Department of Transportation and the city of Corona, where she handled their mass transit program. And she's sort of new to county government, this county government, and brings a lot of experience, and we're really glad to have her. Thanks, Soleil. Last but not least, Alan Simeon is the director of, excuse me, Public Works. And the reason you care about Public Works is Alan handles roads and infrastructure, things that we travel on every day and we need. Alan has a bachelor's of science in civil engineering from UH Manoa. He had experience in the private sector before joining the county as an engineer in Public Works in 1997 and became the head of Public Works just about a few months ago. Yeah, not long ago. But he was the deputy before that, and the mayor said he finally convinced you to take the job. Thank you for being here today. Will Okabe, I believe you're going to give us an overview before we go to Deanna's more detailed explanation of the budget.
Yes. Good evening. I just wanted to say I'm, on behalf of Harry Kim, Harry's not here because, as you all know, he has a situation that, that he needs to rest. And that's exactly what he's doing today. He comes in the morning, like 5 o'clock or earlier, and in the night, and goes to the EOC, comes to the office, and then after that, he tries to get some rest. So he is still in charge, as I mentioned in the press release of the county, and he wants to assure all of you that he wants to make sure that everyone is safe. In regards to the budget, all of you understand that it is unprecedented times that we are facing today because of what's happening in Leilani Estates. But this is not the first time that Hawaii has faced that type of situation. All of you know that we had lava flows before. A couple of years ago, we also had a big one going into Pahoa. But this one is a little different because now it's in the community of Leilani. And it is amassing a lot of revenues that we have today. As I mentioned to the council just this week, in regards to the budget, we are very, very concerned about the cost. We are asking our employees to work 12-hour shifts. The employees can refuse to work 12 hours, and that may happen. We can ask. But if we do ask them to work, we have to pay them. So it has made extraordinary cost to the county. As I mentioned to the county council a few days ago, that we're one team and one island. What is happening in Leilani Estates addresses all of us in this community. All of us understand that in this particular community, you're blessed with all the businesses, all the hotels down the coast. But there are a lot of people that are canceling their reservations, and that will affect the economy. Just recently, I think today, they said that one of the cruise ships are going to come back to Kona and to Hilo. So therefore, that is a plus. That at least that message is going out to the world that Hawaii is open for business, because it only affects 5% of our island. As Sherry did mention that the county is not going to stop in providing services, but it will affect the type of services that we provide, because we are in a $6 to $7 million shortfall. Right now, the county is negotiating contracts, future contracts for our employees. Fire is one of them, and the next year they're going to be coming up with another contract. So if we're $7 million short or $6 million short, how are we going to pay for that with everything that's happening? We don't anticipate that the volcano or the lava is going to stop tomorrow, in a month. It might take months. It might take a year. But we are getting a lot of support from the governor. The governor has issued a proclamation. He was able to get another proclamation from the President of the United States, Donald Trump, in one day to have FEMA come down to address the situation. He has appointed IEMA, which is Tom Travis, the head of the state emergency system, to be here on this island, along with General Hara, who is a former Waikea High School graduate, and he is in charge of all the military here on this island. So we have the support from state, county, federal, and the National Guard to address this situation. But how does it involve all of you here that represent the Kona area? It involves you because what happens in Puna affects all of us. And that's what I meant to the council, that it's not just their own constituents within their own counties, their own districts. It involves all of us. When something happens in this island, we consider that the whole community. And we really need to dig deep in this community as well to help those in need. Everything that we're doing in regards to all these people here today, the departments, is going to address the budget in a way of how we're going to try to ensure that county government does not stop. But I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that there's not going to be a lot of challenges. Your wish list that you had back in May is not the same today. I mean, when we proposed the first budget, it's much different. And we need to be very honest about it. We want to be very transparent about it. For the department heads that are here today, it's Monday to Sunday. Monday to Sunday, they don't get any overtime. None of us. So therefore, we are always on call. We're there early in the morning, by 5 or 6 o'clock, and they work into the evening, every day, because we need to address it. But we ask those that are not department heads or deputies, they are on a different contract. So therefore, they'll be getting overtime. Deanna is going to talk about the overtime cost. In about 3 weeks, we amassed close to $1.3 million, I believe, right? $1.3 million in only 3 weeks. If that does not cause you alarm, as the amount of cost it's going to cost us, it's enormous. Okay, but we are very compassionate about the people in Leilani Estates, so the people that have lost everything. Everything that you can think of, their homes. Think about yourselves, that all of a sudden you woke up tomorrow and everything that you have is gone. That's what they're facing. And the county is going to provide them everything that we have to be able to ensure them to get their lives back and going. We provide them 3 meals a day. We have a lot of volunteers in the shelters that we provide, but we're very compassionate and we intend to help them. That is our main goal. Harry always believes in one thing, in making this place a better place to live. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
Thanks. Dan?
So we're going to talk about the budget, and we did submit the budget on May 4th. If we had submitted it on May 5th, might have looked a little bit different. But so this is, the budget that went into the council. The budget is $518 million, and it includes funding for police, fire, highways, parks and recreation, solid waste, sewer, mass transit, housing, all the different departments and functions that the county has. This is kind of a pie chart broken down. As you can see, starting in kind of the upper right, police is in yellow, followed by fire. So, public safety really accounts for about 25% of our budget. And then there's other things like highways and streets, parks and recreation. Environmental management is about 10% of our budget. And then that big purple section over on the left is fringe benefits that we have to pay on top of salaries and wages for our employees. So some of the major changes from last year's budget to this year are primarily salaries and wages, which was $9.9 million. And that is actually primarily collective bargaining increases. Then we had post-employment and health benefits. So we do have to pay for retirees' health benefits as well as our active employees. That's going up by $7.4 million. And then our retirement contributions, those rates are increasing and will continue to increase for 2 more years. That's going up by $4.4 million. In addition, we increased real property tax sale and expenses by $525,000, but that's an offsetting revenue and expense. And then debt service went up by $620,000, and then our miscellaneous claims and judgments by $500,000. And then we found out about a new civil defense grant matching program that we're going to now have to start paying matching on some of our Homeland Security grants we receive. So that was about $175,000. The revenue that covers that is primarily from real property tax. 61% of the total budget comes from real property tax. And then we have a few other taxes. And then state and federal grants is also a pretty significant chunk. And then transit accommodations tax, fund balance, things like that. But the bulk of it is from real property tax. One of the revenues that hasn't really been increasing for us is TAT. So the very top darker kind of spot is what comes to the county of Hawaii. The one right below that, the bluish line, is what goes to all the counties. And then the green on the bottom is what goes to the state. So if we go back to, I think it's 2008 there, the county itself hasn't really been receiving much more TAT over the years. They actually capped us and now have kind of frozen that amount, that all 4 counties share $103 million. Our share is $19 million. But what has happened, as TAT collections have increased and the rates have gone up, that push has been going to the state. So it's one of the things we have fought for over the years, but it's kind of fallen on deaf ears. So we continue to have a widening gap between our income and expenses, especially with collective bargaining going up. We have to bargain with the state and three other counties. We do not get to do that collective bargaining on our own. In addition, the ERS rates are set by the state, as is the health benefit rates. So a lot of that is kind of out of our control specifically. So we have looked at, what operating expenses can be cut. All of the departments have, been cut over recent years and continue to be cut this year again. Facility maintenance and equipment purchases have been deferred. And some of our reserves have not been funded beyond what's required in the county code. Now with the current disaster, you look back and go, yeah, maybe we should have beefed that up a little bit more, or disaster fund. But we continue to have increased benefit costs. So how does our county compare to the other counties? So our county's per capita budget is $2,449, and it's actually the smallest of all 4 counties. It compares to Maui County, which is actually $3,395 per person, Kauai, $2,793 per person, and we're even smaller than the City and County of Honolulu, which has $2,478 per person. And clearly, when you look at it per square mile, then we are by far the smallest. Being the largest island, we really have to make our budget stretch.
Real brief question. When you talk about the comparison, I feel like that's not a rational comparison, because if you look at the City and County of Honolulu, you said $2,478 per person, we're $2,400. They have an extensive mass transit system. They have an extensive wastewater treatment system. They have extensive recycling. I'm not clear why that is a comparison when the kinds of services offered are vastly more there than here.
We usually compare ourselves to Maui and Kauai primarily because, we're really all the outer islands. And, we are the big island, that 4,028 square miles we have to cover with police and fire protection. It really does take a lot to, make sure we have those fire stations and police stations across the island. So, yeah, maybe City and County is not a good comparison, but when you look at Kauai and Maui, I think, we really have tried hard to keep our budget, trim over the years. So then, May 3rd, something happened, and the lava started down at the Lanipuna and Leilani Estates area. It continues to flow. This map is the current area that's in the disaster proclamation that we are looking at revaluing. Our county code already provides a disaster protection for landowners or homeowners, rather, any type of businesses. And what happens is that if your house were to burn, or in this case be covered by lava, then you can apply for relief. In this case, we're just going ahead and automatically changing their value based on the damage assessments we're receiving. But there's a bigger area as the lava flows down to the ocean that is being impacted, and we're still considering what to do in those other areas. When you look at just the smaller area, the Leilani Estates and Lanipuna Gardens, they pay a total in real property taxes of $1.2 million. But we do believe some of the surrounding areas will also have a decrease in value, especially as access for some of them may be cut off. So we're expecting a decrease in revenue of the coming year of about $3 million less than what we projected. Okay, in addition, the financial impact is primarily to us in overtime. So in the first pay period, it was $745,000. And then we also had some road repairs for emergency access. And then some security, shelter, meals, other supplies. So we have already spent roughly $1.4 million, and that was in the first 3 weeks, as Will said. The unfortunate situation with this event is in other disasters, like Hurricane Iselle, it comes, we know what happened, we clean up. But in this case, we don't know how long it will last. And this event is very different from the 2014 lava event as well. That was slower moving, coming down towards Pahoa. So I did talk about the impact on our revenues, but so net total If we had to pay 25%, which normally FEMA pays 75% and we pay 25%, our expected, if this cost trended out for a whole year, our share would be $4 million. So that's why we've been talking about a $7 million impact on our budget. The timing right now, we're at the end of the fiscal year. A lot of the department budgets are, running thin, but we'll probably just be spending the money we have available to us, dipping into our fund balance a little bit, and using the disaster and emergency fund as needed.
Deanna, could you just define fund balance for folks, please?
So the fund balance is typically kind of what's left over at the end of the year. So excess revenues, unspent expenditures, and then we also budget that as part of our next year's we budget fund balance as part of another revenue for the following year to help keep, our real property taxes as low as we can. But we may have to dip into that a little bit to make sure we cover the expenses. We do expect reimbursement from FEMA. It does take some time, but it does require a 25% match as well. So with the reduction in reduction in revenue and the impact on expenditures, we are projecting next year to be about $7 million shortfall, and that's what we talked to the county council about on Tuesday. We do have options. We can reduce expenses, which might be to cut positions or vacant positions, or implement a hiring freeze, furlough non-public safety employees. Obviously, we need our public safety employees. They're some of the ones who are, working at the lava flow as well. Close transfer stations, possibly. Reduce maintenance of facilities, lay off workers. We can look at increasing various fees, raising real property taxes, or possibly implementing the GE tax surcharge that we talked about. So it's a tough decision. We're looking at everything. This is kind of a hard time. We know people need the services, but we also know it's a bad time to raise taxes because everyone's being impacted. And the more tourism is impacted, more of the island will feel the impact of the lava flow. So that's it for this part. There's a few more presentations.
Like Sherry said, I'm the Director of Public Works, and I'm here to share with you what the Department of Public Works consists of, and also the people and the things that we do. And lastly, I would like to show you what are the future projects or projects that we want to do on this side of the island. So our department consists of 6 divisions, as you already know. And like Will said, our heart is for the whole island, not just the east side or the west side. So with the 6 divisions, we are working together as one to improve the quality of service for the health and safety of our big island, Ohana. We are here to serve the people of this county. And the first division that we have is administration, and the rest are automotive, building division, engineering, highway maintenance division, and also traffic division. So we are all, basically, we take care of the roads, we take care of the signals, the lights, the potholes, and now our highways division are really involved with the lava event, yeah. We do have people out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, both outside and inside at civil events at EOC. So our administration division, basically, we do support the rest of the divisions. We do community outreach and information, so we have a PIO person. A lot of times, or the media people, they do call us for questions and answers. Maybe some concerns, our PIO person is a point in contact to address those. We do support with clerical support, coordination of all the divisions, fiscal coordination, we work with Deanna guys, and human resources, we take care for the whole department. And we do have the public potable water spigots management. It seems small, but it's it's giving a lot of service for all the people, especially on our side where we don't have running water. That's where a lot of people depends on. So our automotive division, they support a lot of our departments by getting all the equipments running. For example, Department of Environmental Management, we do help them in the repair of all of their equipment so that they can do their job. We do take care of the fuel purchases and distribution as well. Building division is the next one. What's shown picture over there is basically a photo or a picture of the new building that is going up next door, which is the prosecuting attorney office. So they do administration and enforcement of building, electrical, energy, plumbing. Technically, they do issue the building permits. Yeah. Also, they do janitorial services and landscape maintenance, especially for this facility here and other facilities in the county. They do repair and maintenance, not only in our departments, but also we support the other departments, police, fire, and the others. And also, like this project over here next door, it's a capital improvement project. So we do have it designed, bid out, and also constructed. Next is our engineering division. So this were the design and construction and inspection of our county infrastructure. The last one that we did, basically, a few of the projects that we did is the Kaiminani Drive project in Aneke many years ago. And our engineering division are in charge of the inspection and management of those projects. We do also enforce code regulation and compliance, like grabbing, grading permit, work within the county right of way, and also flood control projects and bridges. I will show you later on that we have a project here that really needs the improvements for the people of this side of the island. Maybe some of you recognize where this bridge is at. Yeah. We are actively working on this project.
You've got that slide up there. When did you start work on that bridge, and when's it going to be done? And what's the cost?
Okay.
It's on Ali'i Drive, in case anybody doesn't
yeah.
recognize it.
Yeah.
Isn't it sort of right there? Well,
I will come back later on. There's more slides that show some specifics. Just a cross-section of the bridge. Next one is our highway maintenance division. And I just want to stress the group of people here are not only doing potholes. They are the ones that are there now in Leilani State, 24 hours a day, helping with the evacuation, helping with the information that we get at EOC so we can plan. They're the ones who has to don the gas mask and everything so that they can help the community the best we can. So on top of that, their primary functions are for our roads, and they maintain about 970 miles of roads, pothole, and resurfacing. Also, they maintain sidewalks, guardrails, landscaping, and over 2,100 dry wells and culverts. In this island, we don't have a connected systems for stormwater management. That's why we have dry wells. It's basically a puka in the ground where water goes in and it seeps into the ground. Yeah. So we maintain those as well. We also have miles and miles of roads in limbo, flood channels. We actually have about 130 bridges that are registered with the federal highways that we need to maintain in order for us to keep on getting the assistance from them. Also, they provide training for heavy equipment, safety, and the biggest thing now is emergency response, like I mentioned, our people down there at Leilani. And these are some of the things that they do, emergency disaster response from previous years. With the earthquake that happened a few weeks ago, the Waipi Valley, maybe a few years ago, they did have a slide and they had that taken care of. The latest one related to the earthquake about a week or so ago is the Hakalau Road. So they have, on top of the emergency there, they have to take care of the daily task that we have. Same thing with the Kona flood back in September 2015, and some resurfacing jobs that they had done, and on the bottom is Waimea Fire that they had assisted.
Is that the same as what happened in August 2014? Is that the same flood? I mean, you're talking about things that are in the past and, in fact, in the past administration. And I know that folks are really focused on knowing what is happening now. But
yes.
is that 2015 the same as August 2014, or is that a separate one?
That could have been possibly the same one.
Okay, thanks.
And also guardrail installation to keep you guys on the road instead of going off the embankments. That's an Ali drive. And most recently, we had done Hailey Street in Hilo, also a Kalapana Seaview with the bus stop. In Waikoloa shoulder area, many of you guys probably remember some years ago where you find a lot of monument on the side of the road. And this improvement here, I can tell you, based on the project that I had done before for a portion of above Paniolo, it has saved a lot of lives. It has saved a lot of county money from being sued. So these are some of the good things that our guys are doing. And just recently, the left turn lane on Henry Street, Palani Road, we just finished that. We had gotten a lot of thank yous for getting that done. And our traffic division, they do maintain all the traffic signals. A lot of the street lights, most of the street lights in our highways, whether county or state highways. So we do collaborate with the state DOT people in maintaining our street lights and traffic signals. Okay, so these are some of the projects that we're looking at. Project design and construction. I know there's a lot of questions about Anekeyoho-Kalole Highway. It's an important project. Also, as you can see over there, there's a price tag of about $50 million.
$50 million for the 1 mile to go from
This is from
Hinolani to Ki'imanani?
to Kaiminani.
So $50 million for the one, isn't it a mile?
No, it's much more than that.
How much? How long?
I don't have the number now, but yeah, it's much more than that. Sorry, yeah.
2 miles, 3 miles?
Maybe about 3 miles, 4 miles, yeah. I
Okay.
can get the numbers for you.
And so what's the timeline on that?
Good question. Because for us to come up with 50 million is a hard question to answer. A lot of times we look at our partners from the federal highways. Just recently, or before maybe last year, we get an allocation of maybe about 10 to 12 million of federal money every year. So just that project alone, if you divide that 50 million by 10 or 12 million, it takes about 4 years, right?
What is the status?
To be able to budget that. The game has changed. They are now looking at, because of funding shortfall, they are looking at system preservation and safety. What that means is we got to be able to take care of what we have. If there's not enough money to take care of what we currently have, how can we build new roadways if we cannot even take care of what we have? So we need the money to get these projects done. We do our best at the county to try and leverage the federal highways money. We try to get as much as we can, because if we don't jump in when there's money available, other counties have their hands too, other states have their hands too, and the same way on the mainland.
Alan, how much money right now are we asking from the federal government for highways for this island only?
For this island only, on the Ali Drive project, I believe it costs about $12 million. So 80% is provided by the federal highways.
And so we've asked for that for which project?
Ali Drive Culvert project. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to get like $10 million? Is that,
$8 to $10 million.
okay, and has that been allocated?
We had to finish the project or the design in order to be able to submit a package for us, for them to allocate the money. We have an appropriation, but until we have completed all the construction documents ready for them to approve and for us to construct, they will not per se allocate the money. It is appropriated, but it's not allocated.
And so is that the only project we're asking for federal funding for?
Currently, we have a few bridge projects that we are finishing. Yeah. So basically, we're also trying to get some money for the system preservation as a backup for that project. So just this project alone, for the Ali Drive project alone, we are already pretty much getting close to our 10 to 12 million allocation. But like I mentioned, they're not gonna freely give the 10 to 12 million dollars a year that was previously allocated before. Now we have to compete with the state which projects or that we have is more in need of the money. For example, you have seen Ali Drive Culvert. It's really bad. It needs some money. But if there's another county or if the state has another bridge that is affecting more people and that needs the money more, they have to decide which one they have to give the money to. Again, I don't have to remind you that basically this is happening because of the shortfall of budgets. Yeah, thank you. We also have Kwakini Highway widening south of Walalay Road. So this again, we have it on the STEEP or Federal Highways projects, but unless we fulfill the need more than the other jurisdictions, we'll keep it there. And also, we had to find our 20% county match so that when those federal highway money are available, we have it. Also, Mamalaho widening Madeleine to Mana Road, that's already on construction. And I can tell you, because of the partnership that we have with DOT here on the island, we got our portion, 80% of the 12 million. And also, because other states on the mainland, they were not able to have a project ready, we also got about $13 million in addition for our projects. That's the benefit of having a project ready to go, so when other counties or states don't get their project done, they will give it to other states, and we were lucky to get that. Nani Kailua extension, it's about $4 million. We have a radio tower at the Civil Defense, $3 million. And right turn lane, Aneke to Hinalani, we are working on that. That is an in-house project, so meaning in-house, basically Public Works is gonna design it and also construct it. And the Hawaii Civic Office of Prosecuting Attorney next door.
And the
14
county
million.
is building that? Public Works is actually building that? The building?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. We manage it, but I believe Isimoto Construction is building it.
Okay, so the county is not building that. So the money up there is what? What does that mean exactly? Is that money you're paying to Isimoto?
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
that was estimated amount. I believe
Okay.
the contract is about 12 million or so. Yeah.
Okay, and before you leave that slide, the Nani Kailua extension, that's the part that takes it from Queen Kaumano Highway down just that short little space?
Yeah.
Okay, that's been on the
List for a long
list
time.
for quite a while.
Yes.
What's the status? Because it's probably close enough that you could take a bulldozer from here to that door and get it done, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's still on design phase on that. Yeah.
It's
So
still
we
what?
design phase. Yes.
Still designing it?
Yeah.
So it's been in design phase for
For
2 years?
Probably more than that, yeah.
More than that?
Yeah. Yeah, again,
No disrespect intended, Alan, but does that make any sense at all, that a space from here to there would be in design for 3 years?
Yes. Again,
Yeah.
some projects do come more priority than others. Yeah. Thank you. And again, if we're gonna get money from the federal highways, yeah, I guess we have to allocate where the money is necessary. Yeah. Yeah, but it shows now, basically, we have a lot of projects to do. The thing is, we need the money to do more. Thank you.
Alan, I just want to remind you that you have 3 colleagues who are also now going to have to jam their presentations
sorry. Okay.
into about 15 minutes. So
Yeah, okay, let me just make it fast. Basically, these are some of the projects that we have for Kona. For South Kona, Mamaloho Highway, Captain Cook fronting the fire station. And also Kona Waina School, we just did that, I believe, as far as the resurfacing by the school. And Mamaloho Highway from Haukapili to Kona Waina Road for the bad areas. And for North Kona, Lunapole Loop, Lunapole Street, Kelaka'a, Mamaloho Highway by Teshima up to Haukapili for the bad areas. And Henry Street, Queen Kahamono to Palani Road, we did that. And Ihilani Place. And South Kohala, Settle Road, we have some plans to resurface. Kamamalu Highway 19 to Kamanawa Street. So these are projects that we have, that Highway Division planned to do. Again, because of the disaster, some of this project has to wait a little while because we are using, the people doing the roadways are the people attending some other work. So, yeah. That's the Ali Drive culvert replacement. So we're working on that.
And when did that start, Alan, that Ali'i Drive culvert that's been that way for 8 months or so? Did it start 8 months ago? Or
No.
was it just closed off 8 months ago?
No, so basically we are pretty much done with the design.
Still
But
in design, okay.
Yeah, but in order for us to be able to get the federal money, we have to finish all the permitting, and
Okay.
that's taking a while.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, so Anakihol Highway Phase 3, I mentioned that. Also, Kwakini Highway improvements. These are just the details of the ones that I just mentioned. Yeah. Nanikailua, Oneyu Lane. Yeah. That's the tower for the civil defense, and also the prosecuting attorney next door. Thank you again, but we'll do our best to serve the community. Thank you.
DEM has 3 divisions, administration, solid waste, which has recycling, abandoned vehicles, and the wastewater division. The one thing I did not put on the slide was our total budget is right around $50 million, about 10% of the county's budget. We have about 200 employees that work within the 3 divisions. Going through the budget, the administrative side, which is just our accounting people and the deputy, myself, we're about 1.2 million, and pretty much insignificant in more ways than one. The solid waste budget is about $36 million, and what I would point to you is the amount of money that we get from tip fees, and that's what is disposed of in the landfills, and that is approximately 1/3 of all of the cost of operating the solid waste division. We generate about 82,000 tons a year of solid waste that comes from our transfer stations, which is totally free. The amount of tip fees that we lose from disposing of that at no charge is about, that runs about $8.8 million a year. But even if we did that, we don't cover everything. Our cost, for example, for recycling, that runs us about, when you deal with the green waste, it's about $7.5 million a year. So we did have a higher budget this year than last year, but that is because we got a rate increase. The council in their wise voting granted the first rate increase for solid waste disposal since 2007. It went from $85 to $107. That generates about $26 million for us in that in this next year. But since we're transferring solid waste from the east side from Hilo and bringing it to the west side, we have a different contract, and we're going to pay about $2.5 million more for waste management to deposit the waste in Pu'anahulu. So our $2.6 million increase did not take us as far as we liked. We have our capital improvement budget for 2018-2019 is about $21 million. Abandoned vehicles, probably next to recycle bins being filled to overflowing. Abandoned vehicles are where we get probably the most feedback from the public. And that fund is about $3.5 million. We've moving forward with about $1.1 million from this current year. We are in the process this year of getting a change to allow us to tow from public or from private subdivisions. We had been doing that, but when we took a look at the law, we really didn't have explicit right to do that, so we're correcting that. And we're also working with the police to try and expedite the whole abandoned vehicle process, which is frustrating for you, it's frustrating for the police, it's frustrating for us, so we're going to try and fix it. Wastewater, we only have a $12.9 million budget there. Our sewer fees are about $7.5 million. We're taking about $3 million from the general fund. We are required by EPA to have a sustainable fund. We are not. We'll be coming to council sometime this year with a request for a sewer rate increase. Just to let you know, our sewer rates, if we double them, are still cheaper than any other county in Hawaii. And the last raise in sewer fees was in 2007 as well. So we are very far behind. We have an infrastructure debt of about a little over $50 million. The debt payments, when they come in, right now we're not at $50 million, but this next fiscal year we will be. And that's because the R1, for Kealakahe, the reusable water, that bill is coming in because we're in design, we're going to be in construction, that will be in operation by 2020, and that debt payment is going to be an additional $7.8 million. And if you remember, our whole budget was only $12 million, so that's a significant amount of money. And that $12 million does not include this $7 million. This is in addition to our operating cost. We're going to be facing significant problems later on because of the cesspool closures, and complying with that and allowing the local people that have cesspools to close those in conjunction with the state law is going to add a significant amount of burden on the county. I will say the county really has nothing to do with that. We do not approve cesspools. We do not monitor cesspools. That is fully a state function. We review designs that are in accordance with state requirements. And so saying we're closing those while it falls on the county is actually comes from state requirements and the state regulatory control that they have. We're going to come in, I jumped ahead on this slide, the CIP request that we have is about $52 million. That's going to cover a lot of force mains. We have a lot of old sewer lines. If you recall last year, Kamehameha Day Parade, we had a break in the sewer line downtown Kona. And we've researched, and we have a number of other systems that were built about the same time with the same materials, and that in itself is about a $14 million hit that we're going to have to take care of before we get the next break. That's it, short and sweet. Thank you.
Very much, Bill. Okay, Roxy, I believe you have no slides, but I'm sure you want to say a few things. We need to get to our questions within about 10 minutes, so just, let's make it short and sweet, and I'll say the same thing to you, Sole, when it's your turn. Roxy is the head of Parks and Recreation.
My name is Roxy Walgen. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. I'm not going to go over a whole bunch of things, but I'm just going to bring you up to speed on what's happening with Parks and Recreation with regards to the lava flow. We have been operating 2 shelters, one that is located at the Pohoa Regional Park, where we have a senior center, a community center, and outdoor play court, where we have various sites for different types of sheltering. Okay, we have tents set up in the ball fields. We have people with their pets nearby. It was quite a horrendous kind of event. When the evacuation took place at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, by 5:30, we had our shelters ready to go. We had staff on site. Parks and Recreation staff has been working 24/7 for the past 3 weeks. We have moved portable toilets, I think, maybe 30 to 40 times. Each time new evacuation route closed up, we had to move portable toilets for all of the people that are providing those services of evacuating people. Just to give you an idea of what we've spent just in Parks and Recreation alone. As far as overtime goes, the director and the deputy gets no overtime. We've been working 80 hours a week for the past 3 weeks. We haven't had a day off. As far as for my staff, they've been operating the shelters. We have spent $75,000 in overtime. That is from May 3rd to May 20th. And I haven't even had it in the last few days, okay? Security services, we have spent $49,300. In portable toilets, we have spent $2,600. And in food, to provide 3 meals a day for all our evacuees, we have spent $13,650, which comes out to $140,550, which has come out of our budget. Okay, so now that puts a little damper in the things that we were planning to do.
Red Cross, because we're always told when there's evacuations that Red Cross is the agency, but you're saying they're not.
Because the facility belongs to Parks and Recreation, we run the facility. Red Cross assists us. As far as providing the foods and donations, we have worked out the Salvation Army takes all the donations, and they provide all the foods for the 3 meals a day.
Are you, just a curious
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
I know that Food Basket says they're basically out of food and they're not getting any of these donations. Is county planning on helping fund Food Basket for these endeavors? Because they're feeding a lot of folks too.
The donations that we asked, that people called us in and said, where can they donate? We also referred them to the Food Basket. We also have an information center that has opened up at the Pohoa Community Center, where they have 10 different community alliance, the Community Alliance Group. They have everything from the Food Basket, Hope Services, Catholic Charities, mental health facilities, insurance companies to talk about, people who wanted to talk about their insurance, and different kinds of mental health or physical ailments. Dr. Tim Richards over there has been down to our facility, and he has been down at least 3 to 4 times, and he have checked on all the animals that we have. We also have been boarding some of the horses and livestock that's been evacuated out of that area. And he's worked very closely with us as far as in developing partnerships with different ranches where some cattle are being housed. In addition to that, we have medical services from the Department of Health. 9 nurses have come out to the center, have given regular checkups. We have doctors. Dr. Josh Green has come down. He has given medical services and checkups to different people. We've had no one gone to the hospital, has gone to the hospital from our center. And I will tell you that FEMA touched ground. They've been here for approximately 2 weeks, and the FEMA representative went to our shelter this week and did a walkthrough, and she said that she has worked Katrina, Darby, in Japan and Indonesia, and she said from all the shelters, after a 3-week stay, the best shelter that she's been in is the one that is located on this island. So I think that has a lot to do with the people that we have staffing it. My staff has been working really hard, and they've been doing double shifts, but yet they've been keeping their facilities open. But you know, they work, we gotta pay them, and that's the bottom line. So just so that you know, our geographical area for this island is 4,028 square miles. We have approximately 327 facilities, and we have 483 employees. We currently have 40 vacancies. And let me tell you what we do. We take care of you from the day you're born to the day you die. We have 9 divisions. We have an administration division. We have our senior citizens. We have our recreation division, park maintenance, golf courses, equestrian center, Poneva Zoo, culture and education that deals with all the large-scale events, the county bands, the cemeteries, and the elderly activities divisions. Now with that, keeping that in mind, there's a lot of projects that we've had that we've talked about in our previous budget that we were working on, and some of them are the Kohala Skate Park, the Kohala Pool, the Kohala Senior Center, Naleho Senior Center, the Waikoloa Fields, which is in disrepair. We're looking at a $300,000 to $400,000 job, okay, to redo those fields and resod them. The Mahukona Pavilion needs to be replaced. It's really in bad shape. We're looking at another $200,000 to $300,000. Kahulu Pavilion, the renovation, we're looking at $300,000 to do that. The old ghettos facility, we're having dialogue with the futsal people, and we're trying to rework that so that we can get that back operational. The Kohanaike restrooms, which is located on the county's O'oma shoreline. The draft plans have been submitted to the planning department, and we're awaiting their approval. Construction will likely be a collaborative effort between private and public funding, and it will be managed by our department. The Kona tennis courts, and I talked to Sherry about that earlier. The play court has been resurfaced. New fencing and the wind screens have been installed. The footings for the light poles were poured last week, and as soon as they are cured, we'll be standing up the poles. We're still on schedule to be completed on time, if not sooner, so that's a good thing. La'aloa, we met with Ken Van Bergen, and he is awaiting approval from the water supply, so that project is moving forward also. As far as for Isaac Hollick beach showers, that the water line needs to be repaired, and the Pohiki area and Ahalanui, they are all located in the Lower Pune area, and right now the extent to which they will be usable still remains unclear. Every day we have a different picture of what Pele is doing, so we need to just stay tuned and respect. Volcano Cooper Center, a new generator is being ordered. A water catchment tank was switched over, and a commercial kitchen vent will need to be replaced. Glenwood Park, we had some vandalism there where they stole the catchment tank cover, and we had to re-sanitize the tank, and we just reopened it last week, so it's back functional. Kawananakoa Gym needs to be repaired and painted. The fields need to be redone, but we did receive, through litigation, we were able to get some money back from the contractor who did that, so we will be using those funds to do the restoration on that project. The Hilo Civic Auditorium needs roof repairs and painting. We need to replace the roof at the Honoka Pool and install the solar panels. Right now, we're currently testing for asbestos and before the wiring begins, and all the materials are ordered and we're just ready to go. The roofs at the zoo need to be painted. The zoo fence needs to be completed. And you know, there's a lot of people want to open up farmers markets at the various centers along the Hamakua Coast and all different sites. But due to the current state of affairs with the Puna lava flow, staffing shortages have intensified and additional resources are needed to help keep our facilities and services running. We are at the onset of summer fun, and facilities that are being used for evacuation centers are having to relocate the programs to accommodate many working families who depend on our programs island-wide. The continued lack of qualified lifeguards are requiring us to reduce hours at many of our pools. Our recreation and aquatic division are interviewing on a weekly basis and trying to resolve these issues. We have filled internal positions. In the past 6 months, we have filled 60 internal positions. So now we have 40 entry-level positions that we are in the process of filling, so we can get up to speed as far as replacing those gaps in our services. Vandalism and theft at our facilities are island-wide. We've been working with the community agencies and with police to increase patrols and charge people with trespass notices. We are prosecuting to the fullest extent. We're not letting them get off anymore. The homeless in the parks and the pavilions and the beaches require extra hours of cleanup, which puts an extra burden on the maintenance staff. Individuals have been removed several times, and they have returned. They have been charged, and they continue to return. So we are working with the police to get a handle on this issue. We're also working with various nonprofit agencies to see if we can get the homeless vetted into various social service agencies that they could acquire some services. As an added concern, there are evacuees who are demanding extended stays at our beaches, while facilities are at max counts with prior reservations. And some of these reservations have been made a year in advance. Just to put things in perspective, we have 3 electricians for 327 facilities island-wide and 4,028 geographical miles to cover. We have 4 plumbers for the whole island. So if something happens on the east side and the plumbers are out on the west side, sometimes it's not going to get fixed in the same day. It's the nature of the game. The other thing is that our vehicles are in really bad shape. We have most of our vehicles, 70 of our vehicles have more than 100,000 miles. Some of them have 200,000 miles, and I currently have an electrician's truck that cannot make it from Hilo to Kona without having a breakdown. So we have been borrowing cars from people.
We're really running short on time, Roxy.
Okay.
Not to mention you're
In
really
a nutshell,
depressing.
in a nutshell, people, we're working hard. We're trying to keep things going, and we'll do our very best to provide you the best services and facilities that we can. But we really need to look at, I think we really need to consider a look at the GET, because I don't know how much longer we can kind of keep putting Band-Aids on things. Thank you.
Thanks. Soleil, I am so sorry to put this all on you, but we are so low on time. Please try to confine your remarks to what you're actually going to do with the future budget and what your plans are, because we appreciate that everybody's working hard and that in the last 3 weeks since the 1st of May that everything is completely deteriorated because of the lava flow. We have gotten that message quite clearly that for the last year, 2 years since this mayor came in, everything has stopped as of 3 weeks ago, and all the plans have dissolved. You are the person who's come into a brand new situation, and I think that you can maybe give us a sense as to what you actually do plan to do with mass transit. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me and for giving the Mass Transit Agency an opportunity to share the good news for 2018 and fiscal year 18-19 as well. So you're talking about the plans, and the plans have stopped and many things, obviously, due to the new situation in Pune. But fortunately, I'd like to share, and probably I hope many of you are familiar with our draft master plan that is being finalized by the month of June. By then, we will have a plan that will help us craft new strategies that is identifying a path for immediate implementation of changes, improvements, with clear objectives and performance measures. So that is critical for our service. And I know we have faced a lot of difficult situations and challenges, but we are moving ahead. We have clear guidance. We have a master plan that was developed with the support of data collection efforts, with a lot of input from the public in the various districts. The consultants have done excellent work communicating with the public, making sure that there are ways for our riders and prospective users of sharing their comments, their input. We want to make this a living document as well. Part of this success and part of the plan involves two critical items, which is reestablishing, the system, reliability, making sure that people feel that this is for all of us and that we are working hard in achieving those goals. One of the things that I would like to report is that we have been able to save to date over $200,000. We have revisited our insurance plans as well as the smaller contracts that we have. We are assessing each one of them, and now in view of this as well, we want to coordinate with our contractors and make sure that we are getting the best possible services as well. And part of the good news is as well that we are getting more buses. We receive a grant in the amount of $576,000 that will help us replace. And then, yes, not like Park with 100,000 miles. We have 500,000 miles or more on our vehicles. So yes, we are in need of replacing those vehicles. And we'll be getting 6 vehicles. And as part of our pilot with NELHA, we are getting a hydrogen bus by August, September. It's a free vehicle. It's going to be a pilot for 2 years. After the 2 years, the vehicle will be gifted to the county, and we'll be getting free fuel for the next, as for 2 years while the pilot is being deployed, and it's going to be here in the Kona area. And apart from that, we have certain federal grants that we are applying to as well, and will allow us to secure support for operating as well as capital. That means procurement of rolling stock. That means buses. And if I'm able to secure more buses for the agency, we'll be able to provide better service for our community. So that is the goal, to lower the cost, to make sure that we increase the number of buses, that we improve on reliability and performance, and that we reassess with the assistance from the master plan our priorities and how can we better enhance what we already have in place. And it may not happen as strictly as aligned given the situation. We may need to change or readjust at some point, but our main goal really is to deliver on the main objectives and critical items identified in this document. So like I mentioned before, one of the most important items that I see for transit, the critical items are, and I mentioned this before, transit is key in this community. Without transit, you don't have access to opportunities. Without opportunities, you won't be part of this economy. And without being part of this economy, there is no way that we can build a stronger community. So transit is at the very center, is by providing accessibility, by providing mobility, by making sure that all users receive the benefit, and that we integrate various levels of, parts of our community as well. So we want to make sure that people have access to go to recreational opportunities, to get to work, for children to get to school, and for the visitors to take the opportunity and see all the beautiful places around the island. So I think I leave that with this message, a message that we are moving forward. The past have been challenging. We have a new path. We think it's a very positive message for all of us, and I'm looking forward to implementing every aspect of this document as well. Thank you.
I am so happy to hear one of you speak without going into detail about how things are so bad, because 3 weeks ago we had a complete change. Thank you so much, Sole, for, you're going to give us something in the future. Now we have a ton of questions, and so I'd like to ask you to briefly answer those questions, and I'd so appreciate it if the answer wasn't always, now because 3 weeks ago we had a lava flow start, we're never going to do anything again for this county, because those answers aren't really good, frankly. Yes.
It's not that we're saying that we're not going to do anything. We are letting you know why the things are the way they are. Right, what I meant about when we said that this is what has been happening is I've been pulling staff from all your geographical areas. So now some of the facilities are going to be closed because I've been pulling them to take care of the other things. And that's why, because we're running on a 24/7 schedule.
I think we understand that, but I also think we understand that when we look at the projects, and I'm going to start with you, Alan, there are projects that we saw last year on the same exact slides. And when we look at Oneo Lane, the connector between Nani Kailua and Queen Kaumano Highway, that's hard to understand why we're still in design. But we've got some specific questions here for Public Works. Or do you have any plans to lengthen or add an additional turn lane at the bottom of Ke'imanani?
We request from the federal highways to keep it on the list. Again, it's a big budget project. And we know that it was at one time was ready to go and then was pulled off. But yeah, it's still in the technically books. We did request from the federal highways and the state DOT to keep it on the list. Thank you.
This is a question that may have to be answered by Deanna or Will. The county and state built affordable housing complexes at Kealakahe on state land. It's right by Kealakahe High School. In fact, I drove Deanna by it on the way here. And this is a project that houses both families and seniors. The county contracted a nonprofit organization to run that complex, and they applied for and received a $700,000 federal government community development block grant to help with the cost of landscaping. The county has these funds in their possession. They've not been released. A woman in this room actually has fallen in that area, and as I drove Deanna by, it's a big mess up there. The sidewalk drops right off into the dirt, and I knew that somebody had fallen, and I didn't realize that person was you. I'm so sorry.
I fall on the right side on a regular basis.
Okay, so why is the money not being released? It belongs to that organization. And you are, sir?
My name is Neil Gyotoku. I'm the housing administrator for County of Hawaii. There was never any contract or sub-recipient agreement ever signed with this nonprofit. What happened is HUD determined that the landscaping is not an eligible project for CDBG, so we disqualified the application.
Do you not have the money?
The funds were never committed, either a sub-recipient or a contract. It was only an application, and HUD was advising us that if we approved it, we would have to pay it back. It's not an eligible project, so we disqualified the application and have since reprogrammed the funds.
So bottom line is, though, this is a county housing project, and clearly it's now substandard. So
it's not a county housing project. It was built through Hawaii Housing Finance Development Corporation, the state of Hawaii, and it's built by Michael's Development, and it's managed by Better Neighborhood.
So bottom line is we have a substandard project. Whose responsibility is it at this point? Because if we have folks falling, that's not a good thing.
It's the contract, the developer's responsibility, Michael's.
And so basically, county is taking a hands-off.
The county is not involved with the contract of the project.
Okay. Thank you. You've talked about all the overtime you're paying right now. Are employees allowed to volunteer to assist? And are you willing to take volunteers from the public to assist with all the efforts that are going on, so perhaps we can reduce the expenses?
We definitely have employees volunteering. We appreciate all their help. We have former employees volunteering. I don't know if we have CERT volunteers and other types of people. I'm not sure, well, if we're taking other types of volunteers, but one of the biggest components is just answering questions on the phone, and I'm sure people could be trained to help do that.
So are you undertaking some kind of a campaign to seek volunteers, if that would help with the county budget issues? Because clearly everybody in the county is getting super tired, as would be expected. Everybody's been working very hard.
I think what's going to happen is that we have to have consultation with the unions, because when you have unions, they don't want volunteers to be taking their particular job. You know what I mean? But we do have volunteers coming in to help at the shelters. We have volunteers going out to the communities to let them know of evacuation procedures or things like that. We do have those. But to specifically have volunteers to do contracted jobs that's by the county, that's not going to be something that we'll be able to do. So in other words, let's say Roxy has a park, and we don't have the staff and we don't have the funds for them to cut the grass. We can't ask somebody from the community to go there with their lawnmower and all of a sudden start to cut the grass. And then all of a sudden that guy gets hurt and he cuts off his leg. And now the county becomes liable. So all of those things, you know, we have unions in this state, and that's going to be a problem for us.
Speaking of liability, there are some municipalities, and the one example here is Palos Verdes Estates in California, that have been sued because they allowed building in areas that were considered hazardous. And in the case of Palos Verdes, they allowed homes to be built on the edge of a cliff. The cliff started crumbling. The owners sued. Palos Verdes had to then purchase the homes. Is the county prepared for lawsuits as a result of Leilani Estates, people being allowed to develop homes in Lava Zone 1? Is that something that you all have been discussing or are prepared for? Is that a possibility? I saw our county attorney here, but I don't see him anymore.
Joe, I don't see Joe here, but you know, that's going to be very a concern if that happens. We have to be prepared in case anyone can sue anything, right? You can sue because you fell down in that road, but you can't sue the county because that's not our project. Okay, you know that already. So you can just, you know, you can come right here tonight and say that the light bulb over there was out, and then you tripped and you fell and you broke your knee. So, you know, we're not going to be able to prevent anyone from suing anybody. Okay?
Is that something, though, that the county considers there's some liability on your part? Is that something you've even discussed? It sounds like no.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Public Works again. Will the old entrance to Natural Energy Lab from Queen Kaumano Highway be fixed? Will there be a sign saying no left turn in or out? It's right now very dangerous. Use your...
Yeah, again, we don't have that in our plans yet, but if I can please have the questions, and we will consider it, including, we can take a look at them. Thank you very much.
I'll give you the one about the
Yes, please.
Kaimanani as well once I
Yeah.
find it again, because clearly I will get that to you. Ms. Sacco, is there a minimum balance you strive to maintain in the Disaster Emergency Fund? And where are we with that?
Million in it at any given point in time. However, I believe the county code sets a goal of having 10 million. We've never quite got there. We usually have a disaster that has to use part of it, and then we keep trying to build it back up. But that does at least give us enough to kind of front the money while we wait for FEMA to repay us.
Speaking of FEMA funds that are reimbursable, I understand that the money goes from the federal government to the state government to the county, and I understand that the funds that we are supposed to be reimbursed from 2006 from the earthquake and from 2014 Hurricane Azelle and the lava flow are still in the hands of the state. I believe that's correct. If it is correct, why is the state holding our money, and how do we get them to give us the money so it improves our cash flow?
You know, one thing is documentation, and they spend a lot of time reviewing it. They still owe us a little bit from 2006, 2014, which we had the two disasters, Azelle and lava. They've fronted us half of the money, and the other half they're holding pending the completion or closeout of the projects. And so we work with them the best we can to get them the paperwork. I think they need additional staffing, and so we're hopeful they will get that soon.
You're saying the state needs additional staffing. Whoa. There's a lot of tax money that you're asking to take from people in this room, not you personally, but since property taxes are the primary thing that we pay for the county, and then our income taxes are for the state, it's kind of getting to be a scary place to live.
I think they've had trouble keeping people in those particular positions at the state.
Okay. Breaking news at 6:30, Hawaiian Volcano Observatory reported an ash eruption at Kilauea, another one. Around 6 o'clock, it reached 10,000 feet. And by the way, when these alerts say 10,000 feet or whatever they say, they mean above sea level. So consider that the Hawaii volcano is at about 3,700 feet, so it's like 7,000 feet above that. And that relates to this person's question, which is, we have an emergency shelter that was built in Ka'u at a cost of $18 million, a huge state project. The late Rep. Bob Herkes fought for that project, specifically provide protection for people in the Pahala area against ash and such. It's hard for me personally to imagine that there could be a worse disaster than this. So why is that shelter not open to protect the people? Because right now this one is saying that, you know, wind's going to carry ash again to Pahala, and I know it's been pretty ashy there. So what about that shelter? At least so people can get some relief.
If you notice in the alert that you got on your phone, the Civil Defense is saying that the best place to be is in your home. So we have issued out a lot of the masks in the Pahala, Ka'u volcano area. So the best place is to be in your home. If that need be, the Civil Defense monitors the ash, monitors the SO2 rating in regards to gas. If need be that it is a health hazard, we will be opening up that particular facility for any type of evacuation or a place where the people can go. Already there was a request from Miley David that the seniors was going to be using the facility at that particular shelter where there was air conditioning for the seniors, and we were planning to open up that facility.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Today. We have it open today.
So people can, from the community, can go?
Yes.
Right?
During
I
the
didn't
morning-
see any notice on that.
No. What he's talking about on the senior citizen side of the activities, that facility was open today for the seniors to go and socialize in there. They do not want to stay overnight. They just want to go there to get out of the ash, and
Right.
that's fine. That was done today.
Is the county looking into getting a fleet of police vehicles to save cost of reimbursing the cost for the police officers' personal vehicles? Is that something that the county's looking at as a way to save money?
I think the last time I signed something was how many, 10 vehicles was how many
I think,
SUVs, remember?
yeah, was it like $600,000, I
Yes.
believe, yes.
Yeah. $600,000 for, I think it was 9 or 10 vehicles, huh?
10.
Yeah, it's not no $10,000 or $30,000 vehicles. But that is an opportunity we need to look at. But again, as all of us try to inform all of you, the revenues, where are we going to get that from? That's the question, right? We can get anything we want. We can fund all the things that Roxy mentioned. We want to do that. But it comes down to revenues.
You know, when somebody in their life or their business has a situation where they have less revenue coming in and they have more expenses, typically what they do is they don't have the lovely benefit of going out and increasing property taxes or just raising fees on people, which is a pretty arbitrary thing that government can do. So let's talk about cutting expenses. And there's 3 examples that I've seen in these questions that have been asked about. One is under the previous administration, Billy Kanoy, the mayor at that time, his administration had to cut $38 million over 4 years. And the top managers, the direct reports, essentially took a 20% pay cut. Is that something that the county is considering?
We haven't discussed that.
Okay.
But, you know, if it comes down to that, we may have to look at that. But what's going to happen is it's going to be a situation. I already contacted the unions that if we have to go down the line to cut services and freeze personnel, Because back when, I don't know, many of you might have remembered, when Steve Yamashiro was mayor, there was a freeze on all police officers and firemen for I don't know how many years. We might have to do that. But are we going to be going down that road in regards to addressing safety for the people of this island? We can do a lot of different things. We can cancel all the pools on the weekends. We can cancel activities in the gyms. We can start to charge people to go into the pools. We can start to charge people to go into to activities such as the zoo. We can do a lot of different things, but it's going to be things that's not going to be normal.
Mr. Okabe, I was specifically referring, though, as you know, most of the top managers got very big raises this year, sometimes $30,000. But I'm talking specifically about the non-union people, the direct reports to the mayor. Since you haven't considered it, that certainly is something that's been asked about, having the top managers essentially take a pay cut for a short period of time. Another thing, when you talk about fees, let's talk about the Hilo Municipal Golf Course. Last I looked, it has a $600,000 deficit, which means that we pay $600,000 to subsidize it. Last year, we calculated that if you raise the golf fees by $5 a fee, which would bring it in line with other courses on the mainland, such as the Alameda County Golf Course and even the Honolulu Municipal Golf Course, that would wipe out that deficit. Are you thinking about raising the fee so we do not have a subsidy on that?
Yes, actually, I have a whole list of things that I wanted I have a whole list of things that I was thinking of doing. Okay.
So just to give them a kind of perspective, it's not finalized, but these are the things, and you might be interested to see what things we're going to cut.
As a director, no one wants to deal with what I had to do this past week to think about this because, if anything, Parks and Recreation is considered the people department, okay? We service the people. That's what we do. And I was faced with, these are some of the suggestions. I had my team sit down, and we had to plan for how we're going to deal with all of this. Raise golf fees was one of the top things on the agenda. Double the summer fun fees. Charge admission to all swimming pools to offset operational costs. Increase the fees at the Mauna Kea Recreation Area from $10 a person to $20. Charge fees for the zoo. Increase all pavilion and facility rental fees along with service fees for electricity and maintenance fees. Cut the Cherry Blossom Festival. Cut the Queen Liliuokalani Festival. Cut the Magic of the Seasons. Cut the Kupuna Hula Festival. Cut the Easter egg hunts. The Ohana Fishing Derby. The Richardson's Ocean Swim. The Waipio Ranger Program. Cut the Summer Fun Program completely out. And cut the 4th of July programs. Some of the other things was that close all the gyms and facilities on the weekends, close all the swimming pools on the weekends with reduced operations, only operating on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I'll be no longer able to approve fee waivers. A lot of nonprofit agencies utilize our facilities to run programs and events, and they ask, because it's an event that is free to the public, I generally will waive the fees for the use of the facility, which means we pay all the costs for the electricity and everything. I will no longer be able to do that. In the past year, I have waived over $100,000 in fees for nonprofit agencies who have events that is free to the public and who provide a service for the public.
Roxy, let me ask you a question. If you're thinking of closing gyms and pools, why would you close them on weekends when families and kids can typically use them? Why would you not keep them open on
The
weekends?
days arbitrarily. I'm just looking at a 5-day
Well, just
workday.
thinking about
and that's fine.
when would be most
The thing
practical.
is that during the weekdays, we have the staff that provides the services, but on the weekends is when the other people use the gyms, like different community sports organizations use the gyms to run their events, and they generally have a free waiver. So when we still got to go in and clean it and put toilet paper and do the bathrooms, and we still have to do that. So if we had them closed, then in that case, we wouldn't have to have that extra service there.
And that is only one department. We still have Bill's department as well. Closing the refuse facility, the garbage earlier, closing in holidays, because we pay overtime on holidays. So that's only one department. So every department is going to start to look at ways of how we can make that $7 million deficit.
We've got another question for Alan here, and it has to do with paving roads, and specifically the complaint is the county is just not maintaining some of the west side roads. They specifically speak about Hinalani. It's a key, as you know, east-west connector, and right now in the middle of it, it's getting so worn from big trucks that they say plants are growing in the middle of the road. So obviously, if you don't maintain things, then the situation gets worse. What about Hinalani and other roads around the west side of the island that need sort of like more than pothole filling, like resurfacing maybe?
First of all, I would like to thank the council to be able to raise the fuel tax. Raising the fuel tax has given us some amount to be able to do more roadways. In the last maybe 5 years ago, we were paving about, in average, 13 to about 15 miles a year. With increased revenues, our goal is to be able to double that. Double the amount of paving to 30 miles a year, that brings, or 32 miles a year, that brings us to about 30-year cycle instead of about 69-year cycle. So we have about 916 miles of roads that we need to maintain, and some are more in need than others. I do understand that there are roads that of course, with cracks in there and with the moisture, they do grow, but it's all over the island. So we are also looking at an asset management program or a prioritization program so that we can look at the roads that are really in need to get the priority first. So we are actively looking at that, increasing the amount of roads that we can resurface, and also to pay attention with a lot of the roads that needs the help the most. Thank you.
Question here is, how much does it cost to restripe a road per mile? Because we have many roads that need restriping with new reflectors.
Based on what I know when I was running projects, maybe a foot of paint or a foot of striping on the road was costing about $1 or so.
$1?
Yes.
$1 per foot?
Per foot, about. If we do it in-house, maybe we can do it cheaper. Because resurfacing the roads, we can do it cheaper in-house, per se, because technically we're already paying for the labor, and we're only paying for the materials to lay down on the road. So there are some economics in there doing it in-house, and we can do more.
I'm going to give you this card because they specifically mentioned the highway out to Waimea, Queen Kaumano Highway heading north to Waikoloa. Sure. You've got so many cards, Alan.
Thank you. Please find the money for us, though.
Find the money? The budget has grown a lot, more than $25 million in the last year. What progress has been made in addressing, Deanna, DMV wait times? And from personal experience, I can tell you that the wait times here are unbelievably long at times, and I even went to Hilo to get my little gold star in my driver's license because it took me way less than, I've talked to people who have waited literally 7 hours here to get their driver's license. So talk about how you're going to fix this, really.
Every day is definitely different, and there's some days that the wait times are way shorter. Try to avoid it like this coming Tuesday after a 3-day weekend. That will be a very bad day, so do not go on any day after a holiday. Try to avoid Mondays and Fridays the best you can. But we have had a staff shortage. We continue to work to fill those shortages, and we're actually going to be recruiting again because there are positions that are very difficult to keep filled there, and we keep depleting the list. So if you know of anyone who's interested in working there, please let us know, and please ask them to apply.
Oh, that's good. Cool. Well, you know, there's been a number of employee layoffs because of an immediate downturn in tourism. And as you know, the Maunalani Bay Hotel is going to be closing. So perhaps there's some opportunity here to employ folks. Alan, what are the chances of having main thoroughfares being worked on at night, not during the day when there's traffic? Henry Street would be an example.
We do consider those when we're doing a project. And a lot of times, we do want to do it at night, but we do get complaints as well. So we have to balance it. So some areas that are not residential, for example, then we have those options. We do work with a contractor, or we do work with our staff, and we do get the permits to get that thing done. But we do consider those to basically one, basically to less inconvenience the traffic, and two, to get it done faster.
Thank you. Soleil, is there enough funding being given to mass transit to get done what you need to get done?
As of today, no, of course not. We have a master plan, like I mentioned before, and being able to successfully implement all the elements of this master plan means additional funds. So if the money is not there, we, like I said before, we can provide what it is here today. No resources really for us to expand. And one of the issues that we constantly face and people may not be aware of is that since the mechanics are housed in Hilo, they have to drive all the way here to fix the vehicles when they're down. So if we were able to have a hub, or we are looking at some sort of agreement here, that would be a plus. That would be a plus for the agency because we will be able to provide better service and address those needs instead of like 4 hours, probably in 30 minutes. So, you know, to tell you the truth, there are so many areas and so many improvements that we could be able to accomplish in the immediate and long term, but those are always tied to a price tag. And unless we get the support and unless people understand that we are not like, you know, we cannot generate additional fees, not that we can go ahead for a matter of equity and just increase fares, we have to look for support elsewhere, and that comes from the community, that comes to a certain degree from the state, federal, but otherwise the expansion, the support is required for us to be able to offer the best possible transit program and services.
Okay. Well, this person's question actually was, why did they spend all the money hiring consultants if they're not going to give you the money to implement it? So are there federal grants that we can get for mass transit?
Well, the document in basically part of our funding program includes highway fund, general fund, federal. We have formula-based grants that we receive for operating and capital programs. And there are the competitive ones, which, as I mentioned before, with the assistance from SSFM, we receive $576,000 that will help us replace 6 aging minibuses. So, I mean, we are being innovative, we are looking for opportunities, but at the same time, these are very competitive grants that are nationwide, so we were very fortunate this time. We'll apply again and see what happens, you know, for the next round. But it's very competitive. It's not something that is based on, like, let's say, population or something along those lines.
Mr. Kucharski, can we somehow take plastics that are being recycled and turn them into roadway material?
The answer is always yes. It just depends on how much you want to spend. There's generally, to have a plastics processing, you have to have some minimum tonnage available. And we are blessed with not being as crowded as Oahu, and cursed because we don't have enough people to make sort of simple recycling projects cost effective. So that's the best answer I can give is yes, but until we get enough material to make somebody want to invest in that, it's probably not going to happen.
Okay, thank you. And abandoned vehicles, you spoke of abandoned vehicles. every year in car registration, there's a $12 fee, I think it is, that's supposed to go toward disposing of your vehicle, right?
Yes,
Okay, so that money, does that go to the county?
yes.
Okay, so the county's collecting money. Average person owns a car for, I don't know how many years. I'm probably not average, but my average is 10. So if the average is 10, you've got $120. So is there not a way that you can set up a program rather than having somebody just park their car in Queen Kalmano Highway and leave it, that they actually bring it to a place? If you guys are willing to dispose of abandoned vehicles, why don't you set up a thing so people can just drive in and leave their car rather than leaving them all over, which means that you have to hire tow trucks or whatever it is you hire. And as part of your comment, please talk about the new state legislation that tells you you have to get rid of it faster, apparently.
Yes, the issue with the abandoned vehicles, we don't have a money problem. Okay, we have a process problem. We are limited by the legislation. If someone has a vehicle and they abandon it, we have to first show that it's actually abandoned. Then we have to make sure somebody didn't abandon his enemy's car, and then we dispose of it and it says, "Where's my car?" Okay, so we have to ensure that when a vehicle is taken and either disposed of or put in a lot, that we know who the owner is and can access them. A lot of the frustration we're running into is because we have a process where the police need to certify that vehicle is called in as potentially abandoned. There needs to be a 24-hour wait period before the vehicle can be deemed abandoned. And so the police have to go out once, then the police have to come back again after 24 hours. Actually, the police have a lot of work to do. And so we are working to try and see whether we can have the police certify, and then the department goes out and says, yes, it's still here in 24 hours, we can tow it. We're talking to police about doing that. We don't think that that violates any of the requirements of the legislation. As I said, we are going in and modifying what the county can do under the state legislation to tow from private subdivisions. As far as going in and allowing, we are actually establishing, because scrap prices are down, really down, and the issues with China and all of the recyclables, with them rejecting loads and changing how we've been processing recycling materials, and an abandoned vehicle is a recycle project. We find that the prices are going up for disposal. We're paying over $680 a vehicle is our cost. That doesn't carry towing cost. That's just once we get it there, we're charged $680 to dispose of a vehicle. And what we're doing now is putting if you have a vehicle and you want to dispose of it, if you get it to the location, Big Island Scrap and Business Services locations, one in Hilo, one in Kona, and have the proper paperwork, we will pay for the disposal. We call that an amnesty program. But generally, when you purchase a vehicle and you're finished with the vehicle, you have a responsibility to responsibly dispose of that vehicle, just like you have a responsibility to responsibly deal with your trash, even if a transfer station is closed. You still have a responsibility to deal with that legally in an appropriate way. It's the same with vehicles. We're trying to make the process quicker. We're trying to make it more user-friendly for everyone. I know everyone's frustrated. My phone logs are full of frustration, and I do understand, and we are working to try and make it easier, quicker, more efficient.
There's an example there's an abandoned vehicle on Queen Kalmano Highway just south of Puapua Anui that's been there for a week and a half. 2 weeks. It's got AV sign. I've checked with Kuili Little Cruz, our community officer, and he said that it's really slow to get them picked up. So, but you said we don't have a money problem. Is the tow company just not picking up when they should?
Well, there are process issues.
Okay.
We generally get a vehicle within 6 days of notification from the police department that it's officially abandoned so that we can
Okay.
go out. That's the obligation we have. We have a 72-hour requirement on our contract for the towers. A lot of the frustration is sometimes the police do it, they come in, they register it, and it takes a couple of days for it to get to us. Once we have it, we go out, verify that the vehicle is there, call the towing and get the towing done. But there's quicker ways and better ways to do that. And that's what we're trying to deal with.
Okay. Still in your department, 50,000 cesspools on this island, you have said, that need to be closed. And you've also talked about the sewer fees. So the question is there a plan to be able to get more people onto the sewers, which would allow the county to collect more sewer fees? Because I know right now you've told us that the wastewater treatment plants are utilized both in Hilo and Kona about 50%. So talk about, and also include in that, does the county have any plan to actually help get this cesspool problem fixed? Or is it just on the individual people to go out and spend $20,000 each to get it managed?
Well, I'm
I
not
know, compound question.
Not trying to throw stones or anything, but this is an issue that the state permits these and defines what an acceptable individual wastewater treatment system is. The county does not. The only thing the county does is approve drawings and plans that meet the state regulatory requirements. When the state changes the program, it really is not a county function. However, the county believes that we have a responsibility towards the citizens, and so we're looking at several different things. We had discussions with Department of Health as to what it is appropriate replacement. The state has passed, and Representative Lowen was pushed one of the bills for to have an advisory group for Department of Health. That passed, and so we're looking at different ways that we can all mitigate the impact on individual homeowners. We are looking at, and meeting today, taking a look at where is it possible for us to expand sewer service in Hilo, in Kona, in Puako, and all of the areas that were identified in the Department of Health report as being impacting that the cesspool areas that were important areas to fix. We're taking a look at that. The issue that we're going to run, again, is just simply money. It's costing us sometimes $2 million for a mile of sewer line. And we're talking of thousands, literal hundreds, maybe tens of hundreds of miles of that. Those numbers add up very quickly. But we're taking a look at that option and working with the state to define maybe more environmentally friendly and less expensive alternatives to cesspools and current septic systems.
Thank you. Roxy, this person suggested that if you're going to look at charging fees for some services that are not currently charged for, make it more for non-residents. You know, an example would be the zoo or whatever. So, you know, just.
I totally agree. I don't want to charge fees, okay? I want to keep things free and I want to keep things open. And that's why this list was not what I presented. This is not what I want to do. This is what I've been asked to think about, because if it comes down to the point of how we're going to keep things running, this is the only way to do it.
This is a completely unrelated question to the budget, but I know what the answer is because I've already asked Deanna this. When lava overtakes your property, does the state then assume ownership?
No, they do not. The state gets ownership of any new land that's created beyond the current ocean boundary, but you still own your land even though it's covered by lava.
And so the other part of the person's question was, does then the state take your mortgage? Nope, they don't. I mean, what are you thinking? We know the state's not going to do that. Okay. Let me just make sure we've covered every question. I know we're at the time when we need to say goodbye. Have you thought about public-private partnerships to get more work done to open up hiking trails and other such things to expand the capabilities? That looks like a Roxy question.
Absolutely. We have many private public partnerships. We work with the Kohala Center. We work with various Hawaiian cultural groups that take care of the punk lands, the Waipio punk lands, the Vava punk lands. They do an excellent job. We work with various community agencies that try to maintain parks without using any chemicals. We do a lot of partnerships, and that's why we waive a lot of the fees when they use our facilities, because in exchange for them providing a service or providing extra training or an extra event or activity for our island communities, we waive the fees. And that's why, this was a challenge to say, hey, I'm going to have to take this away. I don't want to do that. Okay? But yes, definitely. If anybody wants to do a partnership with Parks and Recreation, give me a call.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Two more questions. How many employees have been hired in the last year or since this administration started? Pick a number a time frame that you know the answer to.
We have a lot of turnover, so I can't tell you exactly how many have been hired. However, I know the employee count is pretty much the same as it was in the last year, about a year ago.
And Hawaii County Police Department has said that they need more personnel, and ironically, the specific district in which they needed more personnel was the Puna district. So is that part of this budget? Will they get more people?
We haven't added any new positions in this budget.
How did Police Chief Paul Ferreira react? You don't have to tell me. Okay. It is 8 o'clock. It's time for us to say aloha. We really, really do thank you for all your knowledge and input, and thank you for being here to put up with our many, many questions. We look forward to seeing you next year, but we look forward, Alan, next year to hear some progress on some of those projects, because I really do think that's the same list you gave us last year. It wasn't you. But we'd really like to see some completion, particularly for things that have been in the works for so long. And this lava thing only started 3 weeks ago, so it's not really feeling like there was a lot of work done before that. So thank you to all our presenters tonight.
Thank you guys again for coming. Have a good night. Yes?
Are you going to get that money released to us that we are owed from 2006? Because now I know that's a question.
Have a good night, everybody, and drive safe.
This is the representation of the kind of quality of speakers that we have here at West Hawaii Forum. And we put these monthly forums on to provide as much civic involvement and education on issues that are important to you, the community. We are one island. We are one community.